हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, गुड आफ्टरनून। तो चलिए आज डिस्कस करेंगे फॉर्म्स ऑफ पोएट्री। आपके कोर्स में डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ पोएट्री प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है। वन बाय वन बिल्कुल शॉर्ट में हम समझने की कोशिश करेंगे कि डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ पोएट्री क्या है। जैसे पहला है सोनेट, राइट। सो सोनेट इज अ fixed verse form consisting of 14 line. This is, right from, I think, school days. That 14 line poetry, right? This the 14 line poetry or 14 line fixed verse is called sonnet, usually written in iambic pentameter. This is a style, right? And you have to remember that for sonnet, iambic pentameter is followed. It is characterized by a volta. These three terms you have to remember: iambic pentameter. This is a 14 line poetry, and this is written in iambic pentameter and characterized by volta. So, what is volta? A rhetorical shift or dramatic turn in thought, right? So that is somewhat, that's a dramatic turn in thought, is called volta. So three things you have to remember for sonnet. What is sonnet? So sonnet is a fixed verse consisting of 14 lines, written in iambic pentameter, characterized by a volta, means a rhetorical shift or dramatic turn in thought. What's the structure? Patriarchal, right? So don't get confused between iambic pentameter, right? That is the style, and patriarchal Italian. This is the structure. Structure is patriarchal. Means 14 lines are divided into octave or sestet, right? So sestet or octave. Octave 8 lines or sestet 6 lines. So that's a 14 lines are divided into 8 plus 6. This is called octave. This is called sestet. You have to remember, and this structure is called patriarchal. Right? Now, Shakespearean English, 3 quatrains. Either this patriarchal Italian or 40 lines can be divided into 3 quatrains, 4 lines each, followed by a final couplet, 2 lines. Couplet is 2 lines, right? That is called quatrains, or with this style was adopted by Shakespeare, and that is why it is called Shakespearean style, Shakespearean uh, sonnet, right? Because he followed 4 lines, 4, then 4, then 4, then 2. So these are the 12, right? 12 lines, and these two couplets plus 4 is equal to 14, right? So these two couplet, last couplet means 2 lines, and this is 4 and 4 lines are called quatrains. So this style is called Shakespearean sonnet. An earlier one, which is patriarchal sonnet, which is style Italian style, and which is, that is octave and sestet, right? Octave is 8 line and sestet is 4 line. This way, this is called patriarchal Italian sonnet. So sonnets are two types. Structure of sonnet is either patriarchal or Shakespearean, right? Now examples. Examples are sonnets 18, shall I compare thee. You have to give example. If you give more and more example for any answer, then it will be more scoring, right? So please remember all 5 examples, right? Sonnet 18, Sonnet 18, actually number wise sonnet were written by Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. He had written 154 sonnet number wise. So that's a 18, number 18 sonnet name is, that sonnet's name was Shall I Compare Thee? And number 2, 130th sonnet, My Mistress' Eyes, are written by Shakespeare, right? So here you have to remember these two names. Then Ozymandias, Ozymandias written by P.B. Shelley, right? Then How Do I Love Thee? That is sonnet 43. That is also number is given, but name is How Do I Love Thee, is written by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Elizabeth Browning, right? And next is, that is Milton, Thou Should Be Living at This Hour, written by William Wordsworth. So these five names you have to remember, right? So this is about sonnet. Sonnet is the first form of poetry, and sonnet is fixed verse of 14 lines, right, and written in iambic pentameter, characterized by volta. And structure, there are two structure, patriarchal and Shakespearean sonnet. Now move examples. These are the examples, right? Ozymandias is very famous poetry by P.B. Shelley. Now moving to next one, lyrics. What is lyrics? Unlike narrative poetry, a lyric does not tell a story with a plot, does not tell a story with a plot. It is a short, highly musical poem, right? Highly musical poem that conveys powerful subjective feelings, right? So that is powerful and subjective feeling. It focuses on the I. Subjective means I. Subjective means I. The speaker's state of mind. What speaker's personal opinion? What does he think or she think? This is the this is called a lyric. Characteristics: brief, melodic, and emotional. So please remember all these three characteristics. And unlike narrative poetry, this is lyric does not tell a story with a plot. It is a short, highly musical poem. It is said that original form of poetry, right? This is lyrics. Now example, The Solitary Reaper, you must have read it. Then I wandered lonely as a cloud. I, because author is talking about himself, Wordsworth, very famous poetry, Daffodil. Another name is Daffodils. And Solitary Reaper is also written by Wordsworth. Then third one is Dover Beach, written by Matthew Arnold. And then A Red Red Rose, famous poem, Robert Burns. And John Donne's Go and Catch a Falling Star, that is also famous. All famous lyrics are, you must have read, otherwise you can read after this video, listening this video, right? So these are the lyrics. Lyrics is does not plot or a story, that is thoroughly musical poem. And characteristics, very brief, right, melodic and emotional. Now moving to third form, that is ode. Ode is, that is an ode is a formal address, that is address actually, right? Formal address to an event, person, or abstract idea, right? It is more complex and serious than a simple one. Little bit complex and serious, right? Than a simple lyric. It is often structured in three parts. So, ode is structured in three parts, that is strophe, antistrophe, and apode. Right? These three technical names you have to remember. These are the structure of ode. Right? So, that's a complex and serious poetry, right? And which is formal address. It's a kind of formal address to an event, person, or abstract idea. Very characteristics is elevated style, highly elevated, in fact, dignified tone, right? And intellectual depth. Elegy is not everyone's cup of tea. Elegy cannot be written by everyone. So that is why, because that needs intellectual depth. So elegy is another form which sorry, I'm extremely sorry. Ode is an a formal address, and ode is an it's a very complex and serious than simple lyric. And you have to remember these the these are the structure of ode, that is strophe, antistrophe, and epode. Examples: ode on Grecian urn, very important and very famous, worldwide famous ode is ode on a Grecian urn. So that's a, you must have, this is Grecian urn, and here paintings and all, and ode. So somewhat you can imagine, this is Grecian urn, written by John Keats, very very famous poem, right? Now, ode to the west wind. In fact, you can feel west wind. This is the east, right? North, east, north, right? South, east, west. So, you can remember, for your remembrance, you can remember this way, that's a ode to the west wind, right? So, this is somewhat through direction you can remember. Now, ode, that is intimations of immortality, that is intimations of immortality, that is also William Wordsworth's very famous poem. Now, ode to a nightingale, you must have read in your school days. And dejection, an ode, that is written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, it is also important and famous ode. So, ode, what you need to remember, that's a elevated style, dignified tone, and intellectual depth, right? It needs intellectual depth. It is a formal address, right, of an event or person or abstract idea, and this is a complex and serious then simple lyric. So these are the keywords, important keywords you have to remember. Fourth one is elegy. Elegy is a poem of lament, right? It's a poem, very serious poem, poem of lament, right? Poem of cry, typically moves through three stages of loss, right? So that is grief or sorrow, admiration or for the deceased, and finally consolation or acceptance. So three stages, we find three stages of loss in this poem. First stage is grief or sorrow, then admiration of deceased, and finally that's a consolation or acceptance, right? So characteristics are solemn, serious, very serious, and melancholy, of course, that's a sadness, and reflective. Example: elegy written in a country churchyard, that's absolutely like that's epitome of of perfect example of elegy, written by Thomas Gray. If you haven't read elegy written in country yard, means country, yeah, churchyard, means you haven't listened, you haven't read any elegy. It is said that. So that's a very very famous, and that is the lamentation on the villagers and on the underprivileged people who could not get opportunity, and now they born and died. So author has written this poetry on churchyard, and he is lamenting for them because they could not get opportunity, otherwise they would have proved uh, their life. They would have become scientist, author, astronaut, whatever, right? But he's lamenting. Why? Because they are not, they could not get any opportunity. Unsung heroes, right? So that is a very beautiful elegy. You can read it, right? Now, Lycidas is also famous by John Milton, right? Pastoral elegy. This is the pastoral elegy. Then Adonais by for John Keats, because you know that this written by P.B. Shelley and John Keats, P.B. Shelley, and Lord Byron. These were the three authors are known as uh, early romantic poets, and they died before 30, 26, 27, 29 something, and they all they these authors were good friends, contemporary authors. And when John Keats died, so P.B. Shelley had written Adonais in the memory of John Keats. So you can read it also. That in memory of W.B. Yeats, Auden had written the same in memory of W.B. Yeats. And Walt Whitman has written in memory of Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, O Captain, my Captain. So it's all serious poetry, right? It's all poetry uh, for lamenting or crying poetry. Typically moves through three stages of loss, because here in all we can see that these are the loss. So first part is grief or sorrow, second is admiration of the deceased, right? So I told you that the author is admiring for deceased who are sleeping, right, sleeping now in death, like in graveyard. But author is praising them because they were also deserving, but they could not get opportunity to prove themselves. And finally, consolation. There's the three parts of elegy, and characteristics is very solemn, serious, very serious poetry, and melancholy and reflective. Now moving to next part, that is ballad. Ballad, very beautiful. Ballad is a narrative set of music, right? It's a narrative set to music. Historically, they were passed down orally, right? I have experience, but I think you could not. I remember my days when I was child, a school going child. So my in our home, one a person used to come ek tara, and he used to sing so many beautiful folk songs, right? So in which he talks, like he tells the story of um, uh, uh, maharaja maharajas and all kings, Rana Pratap, and Shivaji, V Shivaji, and others, right, Chhatrapati Shivaji and others story, right? So he sings song and then speaks story. So then only we remember Jhansi Ki Rani. This way we got to know about different incidents through songs. That is narrative set to music. Historically, they were passed down orally. So that's a narrative, a written form. Usually it is it is learned by seniors, then passed to juniors, this way. generation to generation, they often focus on a single dramatic event or use simple direct language, because it's a simple, people were very simple, and that's why they often focus on single dramatic event. I told you Chhatrapati Shivaji, one part of his life, how he was born or something, right? So that is unka coronation of the Chhatrapati Shivaji or something. So one part you just he takes, and then they used to sing. So that is the focus on a single dramatic event, right? And use simple direct language, no poetic language, more poetic language. That's just called ballad. Structure is often uses the ballad stanza, right? So what is ballad stanza? Often uses ballad stanza. That is, you have to remember, a b c b, or a b rhyme scheme. This is the rhyme scheme, a b c b or a b a b. So a b c b or a b a b. This was the rhyme scheme of ballad. And examples: La Belle, Dems and Merci, John Keats. French language. Actually, this is the French language. Then a rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, you must have studied in school days. S.T. Coleridge, Kubla Khan, and others, right? Very beautiful dome in this poetry he talks about. It is said that for S.T. Coleridge that he used to take opium, and he felt like he faces depression, right? And that's a imagination he has talked about, primary imagination, secondary imagination. So that's a, in for particular this poetry, it is said that he dreamed this poetry, and then when he opens his eyes, so that poetry could not complete, but whatever he remembered, so he just have written this poetry, the rhyme of Ancient Mariner. Anyway, then the third poetry is the Ballad of East and West by Rudyard Kipling. That's the Jungle Book. Famous Rudyard Kipling's famous work is the Jungle Book. जंगल जंगल बात चली है, पता चला है चड्डी पहन के फूल खिला. That's a very famous book of him. That's a the Jungle Book, right? Mowgli. Mowgli is the hero of the Jungle Book, right? Same person, he had written the Ballad of East and West. Then Annabel Lee, that's a Edgar Allan Poe, had written Annabel Lee. I don't have much idea about this ballad. And the Highwayman, Alfred Noyes. Sorry, I don't have much idea about this ballad also, but you can remember, right? You can see in the internet. Now, epic. Epic: Mahabharat, Ramayana, Puran, Bhagavad Gita, Quran, Bible. These are the epic. An epic is a long book, right? Long book length narrative poem. That's a narrative poem. Long book length poem. Book, it's a book, Mahabharat, it's a book, Bhagavad Gita book, right? So that's a. It usually involves a vast setting, the world or universe. So that's a not poem for one page or two page. That's a poem, a complete book, and it involves setting, the world or universe. Setting is not only my neighbor like castle on your tree and my neighborhood or my place, birthplace. No, it's a setting is world, universe, right? They talk about, author talks about, and follow the adventures of hero who represent the values of culture, right? The Ramcharitmanas means in hero's difficult time, how does he behave? right? That is very important. That's a part of that is the epic. So epic is the very big book, right? And here represents the values of culture. Characteristics starts in media res, in the middle of things, uses epic similes, and involves supernatural interventions, which is very important, right? Jatayu, Bali, Sugriv, something. So starts in a media res, in the middle of things, right? Or like the Shraji goes to Valmiki ji and like preachers to have children, something like. So this way it starts and uses epic similes, right? And the similes are different kind of similes and involves supernatural interventions. So in epics we mm, uh, must have you have experiences of supernatural interventions. Example: Paradise Lost by John Milton, biblical uh, description in Paradise Lost by John Milton. You know that John Milton had written this famous world famous book poetry after his blindness, right? Then Homer's work, the Iliad, right? Very famous. And Homer's same author's work, the Odyssey. And then uh, Beowulf, uh, who is the author, anonymous, but that is also example of epic. And the Divine Comedy by Dante, right? So these are the examples. In fact, you can write Mahabharat, Bhagavad Gita, Purans, Bible, Quran. These are also example of epic. So here we have seen. Now let us have comparative study: form, primary goal, and tone, length. Sonnet. Sonnet is explore a single idea, right? Argument, argumentative, reflective, exactly 14 lines. Lyric, express personal emotion, emotional, melodic, or short. Ode, right? Ode, praise or celebrate, formal, dignified medium, right? Then elegy, mourn a death, sad, somber, varies. Ballad, tell a folk story. Narrative, simple, long stanzas. Epic, catalog a hero's journey. Grand, heroic, right? Very long books. Now this is the next part I'm going to cover in next video, where I'm going to tell in Hindi and English of sonnet and other forms. So here we have seen 6 forms of poetry, right? So you just remember all these 6 forms. Like first is sonnet, right? Second lyric, third is ode, fourth one is elegy, fifth one is ballad, and sixth is epic. So and then you can do comparative study, right? So write, make 6 columns, write each name of different forms of poetry, and then for sonnet 14 lines, right? Something like this, that's a ode, address, or something. So keywords you can write, and then you can have comparative study. This way you can remember all these forms very nicely. So here I am winding up. Thank you so much. And if you have any doubt, you are most welcome to ask me anytime. You can write in a comment box, or you can write directly me on this number 9425349521. Thank you so much. God bless you.